what is going on? This is Substitute Shane, and welcome to Mr. Cap's YouTube channel.
Hey there. All right, so continuing on from where we left off 2 days ago, which was the two compromises, which is the Great Compromise and the Three-Fifths Compromise. Remember, the Great Compromise sets up that the Congress will be the House of Representatives and the Senate. The House of Representatives will be based on population, whereas the Senate will be equal. So you get the supporters of the Virginia plan and the supporters of the New Jersey plan are pleased. Okay, and then remember the Three-Fifths Compromise is going to count 3 out of 5 slaves as population towards the South. Okay, so now we're just going to move towards ratification for the Constitution. Okay, so to be ratified, you need, which is approval. So ratification means approval. Can look at my pointer. Okay, approval. 9 out of 13 states must accept. Each state will vote on joining the new Constitution. Okay, so the 13 colonies, all right, remember now they're states. Okay, Maine is still part of Massachusetts. Vermont is Vermont's over here. Vermont's no longer not a state yet. Okay, all right, so you're going to have disagreements among states in the South and states in the North on some main points in the Constitution. And what's gonna happen is it's gonna be split into two groups. Okay, so you're gonna have Federalists, okay, those who support signing the Constitution, and Anti-Federalists, those who oppose signing the Constitution. All right, so federalism, a system of government in which power is shared between the national government and the states. Okay, again, the purpose of the Constitution, we want to get rid of the Articles of Confederation, which was put together a weak federal government, and it was essentially just the states kind of on their own. The Constitution is going to form a strong federal government. The states will still have individual power, but they'll all be connected through the federal government. Some states in the South did not want that because they felt that, again, they were large, they were self-sufficient because of the plantations and other reasons, and they felt that if they signed the Constitution, they would have to carry the smaller states in the North, which they thought of as dead weight. Okay, northern states and the smaller states were for the Constitution, not for that reason, but in large part because they wanted to have the Constitution and a strong federal government, because they felt that for the economy to be stable as a country, as the United States, they would need to be united. They would need a credit line, things to pay back the debts that they owe, and we're gonna get with that when we talk about Hamilton and Hamilton's financial plan. Okay, in that picture you can see Hamilton, Madison, and that is John Jay. Okay, all right. So federalism again. Continuing, Federalists favored loose construction, a flexible interpretation of the Constitution. Anti-Federalists favored a strict construction, strict interpretation of the Constitution, interpreting the Constitution word for word. So again, Anti-Federalists who don't want to sign the Constitution to begin with, right, but they feel like, again, if they have to kind of keep the country united, eventually they'll be convinced of doing so. But they want it to be word for word. Whatever the writing in the Constitution is, that is the law. Federalists felt that you could be able to kind of change it in a way that you would be able to find loopholes. Okay? All right, again, same three guys. Let's just take a second to look at this. Okay? Okay. So, Federalist Papers, these were written by the three men who are on the screen. So you have James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, and John Jay. And if any of you guys have ever seen the Hamilton play or listened to the soundtrack, I'm sure you know about these because they've been mentioned. Hamilton wrote the majority of them. We don't know exactly who wrote. We have an idea of who wrote which ones, but again, they don't use their actual names, so it's not signed Alexander Hamilton, it's not signed John Jay, it's not signed James Madison. Okay, they use pseudonyms, which is again as an alias. It's kind of just using a different name. I'm trying to remember what Hamilton wrote it under. Let me see. Hamilton wrote under the pseudonym of Publius. I can't remember the exact pronunciation. Who was a Roman politician who actually was helped in founding the Roman Republic. So again, the Federalist Papers are arguing for the Constitution, and you have two men from the North, but you have James Madison, who is from the South, and he regrets later on helping Hamilton fight for the Constitution. Again, he was kind of like the father of the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights, so he helped write it along with these other men. And he ends up regretting that later in his life because he felt that it ends up giving too much power to the federal government. And again, he didn't necessarily want that. What he was for signing the Constitution so that the country would be united. Okay, he wasn't necessarily for a strong federal government, but he knew that the country needed to be united under a federal government if it was to survive. All right, and later on, he's going to have a lot of issues with Hamilton. Okay, Anti-Federalists. Okay, thought freedoms were not guaranteed. Too much power in national government. They felt there would be too much power in the national government. They were afraid the president would be king. Hamilton actually, at the Constitutional Convention, kind of lays out a plan that's very close to monarchism, and he's going to get criticized for it. But he's not a monarchist. He doesn't want a king, but he believed that parts of the English political system did work, and that we should borrow from it, which in ways we do. Okay, and Anti-Federalists campaigned for people to oppose ratification. You have Samuel Adams down there, old friend. Okay, this is just a little more of a in-depth look at it, kind of like chart. You guys can, if you want to pause, it kind of just goes over what we just did. So you have Federalists. They call Anti-Federalists here Republicans. We're going to just, in our heads, just use Anti-Federalists for now. I'm not getting into the Republicans yet, and Democratic Republicans, and it gets confusing. So just, it's Democratic Republicans as like Thomas Jefferson. It's not the parties that we think of today. The parties we think of today are very, very different, even though they share similar names. So just wait. If I could write here, I would just say Anti-Federalists. So just remember Federalists and Anti-Federalists. Federalists in the North, okay, favor strong central government. Anti-Federalists were more in the South, and they wanted a strict interpretation of the Constitution, and they were more for a strong state rights, again, because they had larger states that were self-sufficient, and they felt that they did not need to carry on the dead weight of the northern states. Okay? This foreign policy with France and the favor and close ties with Britain, we'll get more into because we're going to talk about this. We'll talk about the French Revolution, which is going to start in 1789. So this is about like 2 years from where we are right now. We're in 1787 with the Constitution. And again, Jefferson is an anti-federalist, okay, Republican, and he's very much for helping the French in the French Revolution. But the French Revolution is very different than the American Revolution, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. Okay, so I just want to end today with, again, the ratification. Okay, so the Constitution is ratified in 1789. That's when it is officially signed, done. Okay, so it takes about 2 years of delegation to figure it out and get the wording. You have the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments. This guarantees citizens basic freedoms. Again, this is just a nice little chart that you guys can look at. If you look here, James Madison drafts the 10 amendments to the Constitution. These become the U.S. Bill of Rights, so he's kind of the father of the Bill of Rights. Okay? I don't want to go farther because, look at this one. These are the bill. This is kind of like going into, well, I don't know. We're definitely not going to get to this yet. Okay. Those are the branches. We're going to do that tomorrow.